Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Soul Seeds, where Marcy is my guest expert for today. And Marcy is a life coach, and we are going to address the topic how our thoughts influence our feelings. So I would love to know, how do our thoughts influence our feelings?
This is like one of my all-time favorite things to talk about.
Mm,
So first of all, right, we have to think the body is completely contained,
mm,
right? If I hurt my thumb, that affects my shoulder, right?
mm,
Like we're fully contained, right? So
mhm,
one thing absolutely affects another thing,
mhm,
right? And our brain and our body is fully connected, and our brain is listening and our
mm,
body is listening all of the time. When we think something, it
mhm,
literally creates a cascade of a chemical reaction in our body. If
mhm,
we are thinking something that is in the nature of positive, even peaceful, calm,
mhm,
right? Then our body creates the corresponding chemicals to match our thought.
mhm,
On the other hand, if it's frantic, chaotic, grief filled, sadness, right?
mhm,
Then our body is also creating those exact chemicals that match those thoughts. And
mhm.
it becomes a loop.
Right.
So it's a feed forward cycle. The more you think something, the more you feel something, the
Mhm,
more the chemicals are produced to support that, right? And
mhm.
that's why, like things like anxiety and depression, addiction, those kinds of things are really hard to intervene on because of that feed forward cycle,
Mm.
to
Right.
intervene
That
and
is
stop
that like
it.
the thought loop, basically?
Essentially, but
Mm-hmm.
most people don't realize that there's the physical is going along
Mm-hmm.
with that,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huge contribution to
Yeah.
chronic illness.
Mm. Yeah, because we also know, or most of us know, that our gut is usually called our second brain. So
Right.
that just states how much it affects each other, right?
That's right. Excuse me. Absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm. And is it also the other way around? Do our feelings affect our thoughts?
Nothing happens until we have a thought,
Mm.
right? You have to really think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happens until we have a thought,
Right.
right? Other than
Mm-hmm.
the automatic things like we're breathing, we're blinking,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Those things. But nothing happens until we have a thought, and
Mm-hmm.
then the body follows the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So here's where it gets really tricky is when it's important to know that 95% of who we are and how we operate in the world is run off from our subconscious mind.
Mm.
So
Right.
the part of us that is not aware, right? All the programs and things we've picked up throughout our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not consciously thinking something,
Mm-hmm.
you're subconsciously thinking something,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
right? Right. And that's where it gets tricky, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're not necessarily ever just feeling sad and we don't know why. We may
Mm-hmm.
not consciously know why, but our subconscious mind has set that in motion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the thought always comes first, basically, even if we're not even fully aware of that.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I believe. All the research I've read points to that, but that's what I believe. Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
that's been my own lived personal experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've dealt with anxiety, and for me, it starts in the mind and then it expresses itself in the body, like tight shoulders, tight neck, just clenching, that kind of thing. So our body is also just always sending us messages of what our thought pattern is, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
if you can't, because some people are like, well, how do I figure out what my subconscious mind is saying?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Listen to the body
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
the body's telling you, right?
Exactly. But sometimes I think it can be hard to sort of like decipher that, because I think as a society we have drifted so far away from that connection to our body and we are a lot more mind focused. So how can we connect more to our body to actually listen to the messages that it's sending us?
Yeah, that's yeah, that's a really great question because it is the work that I am actually consumed in right now is
Mm,
somatic work, right? Not it's
right.
of the body, not of the mind. And
Mm-hmm.
so a simple practice that I do all throughout the day is
Mm-hmm.
every hour on the hour, I just set my timer on my phone, and every hour I just pause
Mm-hmm.
and I connect to my body. I feel the chair that I'm sitting in. I
Mm,
feel the clothes that are touching my skin. I'll look out the window and notice, say out loud, like, oh, I see the beautiful clouds, or the sun's out, or it's raining, right? And I
mm,
really get connected. And by
mm,
saying these things out loud and acknowledging, you're connecting with your body, but most importantly, your nervous system. So you're
mm,
letting your nervous system know, I'm here, like I'm
mm-hmm.
paying attention, and all is well, which keeps
Yeah,
your fight or flight response from up here and immediately
right.
takes it down here.
To let your mind know, okay, my body is comfortable and safe, especially.
Exactly. That's
Mm.
exactly it. Yes.
Yeah, I love to do a body scan for that myself to see where I'm clenching or just to refocus, like, okay, can I send some awareness to a certain part of my body to send some relaxation there as well?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I think body scan it's quite effective, but can be done quite quickly. If you have a few minutes to spare, you can just sit, breathe, focus on your breathing, and then just from the top of your head go all the way down to your toes and see, okay, where am I holding some extra tension or some emotion even? And you can just really just breathe into that spot, and that's my one of my favorite ways to focus on my body and also dance. But I think that's of course very different for many people. So for some it's yoga, walking, hiking, biking, but I think being active is also quite a good way to connect to your body, right?
Absolutely.
Mm,
150%. We have to move our body. We have to
mm,
be connected to it. We have to pay attention to it kindly.
mm. And I hear often in like meditation practices that our thoughts should be seen as clouds drifting in the sky. They should just come and go and they shouldn't really affect you. Like, is that almost like the perfect state of dealing with your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to know that what we think is not
Mm-hmm.
always the truth,
Mm-hmm.
right? The things that
Yeah.
we're telling ourselves, the old tapes that are playing, all of those kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the ego mind.
Right.
That's not the true nature of who we are. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that um, intentional thought is
Mm-hmm.
very different than just the noise that we put
Right.
up with every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so I think letting go of the noise is
Mm-hmm.
really, really powerful and helpful and will absolutely improve your quality of life. But
Mm-hmm.
then this, being intentional with our thought about, like, for example, how am I going to be a different person today? Or
Mm-hmm.
how am I going to show up in a loving way today for myself or my partner or my child, or right? Like,
Right.
I think that's really powerful. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's just noticing, paying attention, having the
Mm-hmm.
awareness, being connected again to ourselves and what it is that we're saying. Where
Mm-hmm.
is it valuable and where is it not, right? How does
Mm.
how does the thought make you feel,
Right. And
right?
even like I have these two questions. I think I'm not sure if they're from a different coach, and they always help me a lot. When I hear like a negative thought, I ask myself, is it true? And then I ask myself, is it really true? Because the first response is usually, again, the ego talking.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's fantastic. I
Hmm.
think for me, the whole thinking and feeling thing really came to a head when I got very, very sick and my life was on the line.
Right.
And that is when I really understood that what I thought had a direct correlation to what I felt.
Mm,
For example, when I was laying in the bed, I was bedridden for 40 days, and
mm,
I was laying in the bed. And if my wife would even bring my cell phone into the bedroom, immediately the tremors that I was experiencing would increase
mm.
tenfold.
Wow.
Right? Just the thought of my job needs me, my
Right.
clients need me, right? Like all of
Yeah.
that would start, and then my body would immediately respond in a
Mm,
very negative way. And then I
mm,
would notice that if there was no phone in the room and everything was status quo, then the tremors were manageable.
mm,
And I wouldn't feel like, I mean, I literally had the direct correlation physically in real time. And if
mhm,
I was watching something on TV and it was violent or whatever, my
mhm,
body would respond the exact same way.
mhm. Right.
The tremors would increase. If I was watching something on nature and it was peaceful and calm, my body would settle.
Mm. For me, it was quite the opposite because I've dealt with PTSD and anxiety. And when I finally found, because I always thought, okay, I can think my way out of this anxiety. But it was when I incorporated my body and actually start to relax and tell myself, okay, I'm safe, that my body was relaxing. And it was like, okay, while my body was relaxing, it would send a signal to my brain like, I'm safe. And that would calm my anxiety down again.
Totally.
Hmm.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it works both ways. We just have to pay attention to the messages, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Again, it's all about the awareness that you were
Hmm.
talking about, right?
Right. Yeah. That's where I always say like healing starts with awareness because if you're not aware of something, you can't heal it as well.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much for today, Marcy.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was such a
Thank,
pleasure.
thank you so much.